Today we continue our journey through 2 Samuel chapters 19 to 21. David has defeated Absalom's rebellion, but David is not celebrating. He is grieving. In 2 Samuel 19, 1 to 4, David weeps over Absalom. His victory has become a personal tragedy. When the people hear that David is mourning, their celebration turns into shame. Then Joab confronts David in 2 Samuel 19, 5 to 8. Joab tells David that he has shamed his soldiers. David's men had risked their lives to save him and restore his kingdom, but instead of publicly acknowledging their victory, David was mourning the man who had tried to take his life and destroy the kingdom. When Joab says David has loved those who hate him and hated those who loved him, he is not saying David literally hated his loyal soldiers. He is confronting David's public actions. David's grief over Absalom had become so overwhelming that he was treating the loyalty and sacrifice of his own people as though it meant nothing. Joab warns David that if he does not encourage his soldiers, they may abandon him. David listens. He goes to the city gate, and the people return to him. The kingdom begins to come back. In 2 Samuel 19, 9 to 15, the tribes of Israel begin discussing bringing David back as king. David sends a message to the priests, Zadok and Abiathar, asking them to encourage the elders of Judah. David also asked Amasa, who had commanded Absalom's army, and promised to make him commander of his army instead of Joab. David is returning to Jerusalem, but the wounds of the rebellion are not yet healed. In 2 Samuel 19, 16 to 23, Shimei comes to meet David. He had previously cursed David during his flight from Jerusalem. Now he confesses his sin and asks for mercy. Abishai wants him killed, but David refuses. David says that he is now king again and will not begin his restored reign by executing people. In 2 Samuel 19, 24 to 30, Mephibosheth also comes to meet David. He explains that he did not abandon David as Ziba had claimed. He says Ziba had deceived him. David does not fully investigate the matter in that moment. Instead, he divides the land between Mephibosheth and Ziba. Then David meets Barzillai, the wealthy man who had supported him during his exile. Barzillai had provided for David when David was fleeing from Absalom. David invites him to live in Jerusalem, but Barzillai is old and chooses to remain in his own land. David then continues toward Jerusalem. In 2 Samuel 19, 40 to 43, tension arises between Judah and the other tribes of Israel. Judah had taken the lead in bringing David back. The other tribes complained that they had not been included. The kingdom has been restored, but unity is still fragile. Then chapter 20 introduces Sheba. Sheba is described as a troublemaker who rejects David's rule. Sheba declares, "We have no share in David." Many Israelites follow him, and another rebellion begins. David orders Amasa to gather Judah's army, but Amasa is delayed. David sends Abishai after Sheba. Joab joins the pursuit. When Joab meets Amasa, he kills him. Joab then continues pursuing Sheba. Sheba eventually reaches the city of Abel Beth Makkah, approximately 25 miles north of the Sea of Galilee. Joab's army surrounds the city. A wise woman from the city speaks to Joab and convinces the people that to hand Sheba over. Sheba is killed, and the rebellion ends. The chapter closes by listing the officials who served under David. The kingdom has been restored, but Israel is still living with the consequences of rebellion, division, and violence. Chapter 21 reveals another serious problem. A famine strikes Israel for 3 consecutive years. David seeks the Lord. The Lord reveals that the famine is connected to Saul's blood guilt against the Gibeonites. Saul had attempted to destroy them, even though Israel had made a covenant with them during Joshua's time. The Gibeonites asked for 7 male descendants of Saul to be executed. David spares Mephibosheth because of his covenant with Jonathan. The 7 descendants are killed and their bodies are left before the Lord. Rizpah, the mother of 2 of the men, guards the body until rain comes. David hears about her faithfulness. He gathers the bones of Saul and Jonathan, along with the remains of those who were killed, and gives them a proper burial. After this, God answers prayer for the land. The chapter then records several battles with the Philistines. In one battle, David becomes exhausted and is nearly killed by Ishbi-Benob. Abishai rescues him. David's men then tells him that he must no longer go out to battle with them. They do not want Israel's lamp to be extinguished. The chapter records several other battles with Philistine warriors. One of them is described as a descendant of Rapha. Another is identified as the brother of Goliath of Gath in 1 Chronicles 20 and verse 5. This reminds us that David did not personally kill that particular giant. The David and Goliath account in 1 Samuel 17 identifies David's opponent as Goliath. Now, what do these chapters teach and show us? Restoration does not erase every consequence of rebellion. Grief can distort our response to those who have remained faithful. God's people must not treat loyalty as though it is worthless. Forgiveness does not always remove every consequence of sin. God remains faithful to his covenants. The Lord hears when his people seek him. Every great leader eventually becomes weak and need others to help them. Now, let's connect all of this across scripture. David's restoration after rebellion reminds us that God is able to restore what has been broken. The famine connected to Saul's violation of the covenant with the Gibeonites reminds us that God takes covenant seriously. Joshua 9 records Israel's covenant with the Gibeonites, and 2 Samuel 21 shows that many years later, God still held Israel accountable to it. And David's weakness in battle points us toward the greater king, Jesus Christ. Earthly kings grow old. Earthly leaders become weak. But Jesus Christ is the eternal king who never grows weary, never fails, never needs someone else to rescue him. Now, I'm encouraging you to read 2 Samuel chapters 19 to 21 in full. Y'all, watch the kingdom return after rebellion. Watch the wounds left behind by sin. Watch God remain faithful to his covenant. And remember, God can restore what rebellion tried to destroy. But restoration does not mean that sin never had consequences. The story continues tomorrow.